30, I said, you know what, let me take a shot at doing art. And obviously, what happens is that was the era when the murals started exploding, the weak pace posters, the street art, everything was kind of like entangled, right? And it was, let's call it what it is. There was a trend to it, right?
You wanted to play that game too?
I was playing that game, but I didn't feel like I was violating because I kind of just got jumped in. I was like, oh, mural association with fashion. So I just kind of got in and then started learning more about the cultures, about graffiti.
Talks about passion between the women and the men. Chris Dyer and his creative friends, darling. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Right, so we're back in this building where Kevin Ledo had his studio, and it seems like Tava also has a studio here. Hi, welcome back to Chris Dyer's Creative Friends, the super awesome YouTube podcast interview show where me, Chris Dyer, interviews his super awesome, interesting artist friends. Today, my special guest is Tava. I'm at his studio in the Mauland, which is funny because it's the same building as Kevin Ledo. I was only here a few days ago. But yeah, Tava is a very popular pop artist of Montreal who has a very interesting story, and he has very interesting points of views of what's going on in the world right now. And I really, I'm looking forward to hearing all about that. So how are you doing, Tava?
Hey, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Woo!
Super nice seeing you. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, totally. Do you remember when we met? Or
I think it was maybe we met many moons ago. I think maybe 10 years ago, 9 years ago, when I first got onto the scene. I was a little bit of a late bloomer on the scene, and I think we met. You were probably kicking it doing a mural, and I was walking through the alleyway and started jamming or something like that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember hanging out for the first time at a En Masse jam. I think it was a job. Might have been a publicity agency or something, and you were one of the artists. And I was happy to hang out with you because I heard a lot about you, and in the streets you hear all different things. But till you hang out with your person, only then you can really make your own assessment. And I was like, oh, that guy's chill. He's
Yeah,
nice,
absolutely. I mean, we have a lot of friends in common, and I heard nothing good things about you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're also friends with Germ. I think he helps you sometimes.
Yeah, he assisted me on many paintings, stuff like that. When I had a series of paintings, I would call him into the studio and we work together. A fun guy, fun times.
Right,
Sure.
and you guys are connected by the whole pop art situation.
Absolutely, definitely influenced by iconic imagery and pop culture and pop icons. So we do get a lot. We do align when it comes to this type of work.
Nice, beautiful. So you told me you're a late bloomer in the art scene. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I would
what
say,
age did you start doing art?
I mean, late bloomer. I mean, I worked in the field of the creative field for many years. I studied in animation.
Oh, cool.
So I did a lot of 2D animation for a very long time for multiple agencies.
Oh, no way, cool.
I started as an animator, classical 2D animator, then moved to digital, and then became an artistic director within the field of production. And so did a lot of work there for 10, 12 years. Contracts and whatnot.
Did you go to school in Montreal?
Yeah, I went to Concordia.
Okay.
So I majored in film animation,
Okay,
in
cool.
classical film animation, and that's what I decided to pursue my career in.
Is there some good animation studios in Montreal?
Honestly, I worked in the 2D field when it was really blooming back in those days. Right now, I'm a little bit out of touch with what's going on. I think Montreal is really much known for its 3D scene, video game industry.
Right.
So I'm a little bit detached from that. Obviously, the last 10 years I've been working on my craft, so I'm a little bit detached. But I'd love to get back into the animation. I mean, I'm always itching, and obviously my style, lends itself well to the animation sort of world, right?
Right. Now that you've defined your own characters or your versions of certain characters, like to put them in motion, and you got that power. So
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how I could hold myself back.
No, I mean, it's just a question of time and timing, right? So it's
Right.
just, yeah. So I've been working, the last 10 years, I've been working a lot on my craft, doing art and doing solo shows and whatnot. What drove me was really, honestly, I was always very much inspired by other artists, Montreal artists, local artists. I've been doing this for so long, and I never really grasped how they, I was always intrigued by the risk that they took, by kind of leaving everything behind and doing whatever they love to do and creating art, whether it's murals, canvas work, or whatnot. And I studied in fine arts as well, and I never really knew how to bring it to the next level in terms of a profession. So I worked in the pipeline in agencies doing animation and doing other type of work. And one day I kind of just woke up and I was like, you know what? I want to give this a shot. I want to stop producing content for other agencies and just see what I could do on my own, and start creating, my own type of work and creating my own type of style. And I kind of took the leap of faith. Did my first solo show, I think, was in 2010.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Where was that?
It was in Montreal. I had rented a gallery,
Okay.
did the whole PR thing on my own, and did a vernissage. And it really motivated me to take it further. I did really well, in my opinion, that evening. People were walking by, coming in, had a lot of friends, a lot of family, obviously, a lot of support.
Which neighborhood was the show in?
It was in Plateau.
Okay.
Plateau, yeah. So I rented a space there.
Do you remember which gallery?
I actually don't. I don't know. It was a rental space type gallery, very nice, cute gallery. And I took it for a week. And actually, I had also shared the space with another artist. So we did a duo type of exhibition. It was super fun. It kind of gave me la piqûre to continue to do it. I saw it pumped me. Let's just say it really, really pumped me up.
Nice.
And I decided to do a show I think 3 months after that.
Okay.
Back to back, whole new collection, blitzed for 3 months, creating all new content. And then I started getting a little bit of press recognition. And then it really, really got to me. I said, you know what, this is really what I want to do. I love it. And it's just, I know the struggle is real. You start off, it's going to be hard, but it's now or never, do or die, right? So I was like,
Right.
I'm going all in.
Amazing.
Quit the 9 to 5 and decided to, never look back.
So you had a 9 to 5 that was solid, it paid well, but you weren't maybe not so happy?
Solid, mortgage, bills to pay. That's why the transition was hard. But yeah, I said, you know what? At this point in my life, at this age, I feel like I just got to do it, or else I'm going to live with regret. And I was having a good momentum, and that motivated me. I have to admit, were the next 3 years, 4 years difficult? Extremely difficult. I mean, I sold my condo because it was just too much. I got rid of my car. I did a lot of sacrifices, right?
Amazing.
I restrained myself from a lot of stuff that I liked and that I enjoyed, that I took for granted, from making a decent salary to going pretty much to zero, and going into my savings. So but I believed in myself, and I believed that I was creating some fun stuff for the market and for myself, that I really enjoyed what I was doing, and decided to travel, invest a lot in traveling, discovering art in other countries, getting immersed in other communities with other artists. And that really enlightened me a lot, and was really, really nice to see that. I was always fascinated by the scene, but never really knew it as well as I did. And to immerse myself was just, mind-blowing. And then, so I don't regret anything.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember, my accountant was on year 2 or year 3, he was like, you sure you want to continue art? And I was like, he's like, looking at my numbers, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I just got to go through this, right? I know it's like any startup, like anything that you start up, sometimes it just doesn't come easy, and that's fine. If you got to work 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day, and do every show, every little event that you have to, that's the key. I have a lot of designers and artists that reach out to me, that say they DM me and stuff like that, and they're often like, how did you do it, and what's the secret? And there's no secret, but the only thing I could tell you is just be prolific in whatever you do. If I had an event and some company would call me and they would say, look, our budget is $200, which is nothing really in reality, right? You won't pay a rent with $200. But it costed me $300 to do it. I would still do it. I took the hit because at that point, if you believe in yourself, you just got to do it. You just got to go for it, go for the home run, and keep doing them, and invest in yourself. That's the only way to do it. So staying prolific and staying true to your work I think is key, right?
Amazing. That's a very inspiring story. I like it a lot. So you told me that was 10 years ago. What age were you at that point when you?
So I'm an old man. No, I was 30, 31.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm 41 myself.
yeah, so I'm 41 now. So
Nice.
yeah.
79?
79, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, January baby. So
January? I'm
Yeah.
March. So
Okay,
you're a
okay.
little bit older than me.
Okay.
I'm right there, right? Yeah.
okay, so we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, but it's all blessings, and I feel like I get younger with the years.
Me too. It's unbelievable. Huh? I feel like the momentum is so good. I feel. I mean, my 30s were great, and my 40s I think are going to be even better. So
When you're living with passion, doing what you love, and also like finding what's healthy for you, then you give yourself a chance to detoxify and just.
I absolutely agree, and I think your entourage is very, very important as well. I was always surrounded, through the ups and the downs. In 10 years, a lot happened, right? A lot of ups and downs. You go through so many struggles, so many hurdles, but yet you conquer so many things at the same time. I think that the people that surround you will really give you a good boost. And I was really blessed to have some really solid people around me, some good friends, good family support, and it kept me going.
Nice. So you would say like maybe at the beginning of your career, you were still having some friends that maybe you're like, oh, I don't know if I resonate with them so much. So you kind of like stopped and you found other friends that resonated more?
Yeah, I think there's some friends that kind of stuck and some that you lose. But the ones that stuck are really solid 10 years, friends that are like from 10, 15 years ago, and they're still there side by side. And they're not necessarily artists. They're just like family and friends, and they've just been there to support me throughout the whole venture. If I needed a few bucks, they even lent me a few bucks. They even gave me a few bucks just through the struggles of it all.
The true friends will support you no matter what your path is.
I mean, I remember my first 3 years. I won't even lie. Like, I declared like barely anything of income, but you know what? That's the thing. You got to just prepare for that, mind yourself for that, and just get through it, man. Get through it.
So tell me a little bit about this fine art path you've taken. Have you worked with some galleries? What's been some highlights? What's been some struggles you've faced in these last 10 years?
So obviously you build a lot of rapports via galleries. You lose some, you win some. I think that I've built beautiful relationships, especially with galleries, with vendors. I've had the opportunity to do a lot of brand collaborations. So the pool of clients and friends have been really, really great. In the last 10 years, I've been commissioned by a lot of brands and galleries to do like work that are associated with their brand or associated with my brand. So I've had the pleasure to like use my signature aesthetic and adapt it to their brands. And it's just been, and the galleries now have great relationships, steady relationships. I'm with Galerie LeRoyer here in Montreal. They've been my...
That's like a big one, right?
Yeah, it's a beautiful gallery. I'm really happy to be with them. They do a tremendous job at curating my work and other artists' work, and they have a great international roster. So for me, it's an honor and a pleasure to be part of their roster. And I showcase all my original canvas there. That's in the Montreal based. And I've worked in the past with Station16 as well. We did print runs for many, many years. So they're a great gallery as well. Credit to them. And internationally, I work with other galleries in Europe, in Geneva, in the UK. Currently I work a lot with China. So the last 3 years, I've been really working a lot with Chinese curators.
Okay.
Private and non-private galleries and multimedia companies as well. Okay. So
how you get into that scene? Like how does a Canadian, Italian in a French city get into the China scene and make a stunt and even get some momentum?
Maybe it's luck, man. Honestly, one day I just got a call from some guy that was calling me from a company in China. And he actually misspelled my name. He wrote Taba, T-A-B-A instead of T-A-V-A. So I'm like, oh, this sounds like a little sketchy, right?
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of research, and it ended up being a pretty big company in China, headquarters in Beijing. And I said, look, I want to see this guy. Is this person real? So we did a FaceTime, and they seemed pretty legit. And he's like, look, I've been following your work for many years. We've been eyeballing your stuff, and we'd love to have you over. Come visit us in Beijing, and maybe potentially work with us.
Nice.
So that's how the relationship started. So
it's a gallery?
It's a gallery multimedia company. Okay. So it's a multimedia company that's been heavily involved in the fashion industry and magazine industry and all that stuff. And in the last 2-3 years, they got more involved in the art scene. So they've been doing pop-up exhibitions all throughout China, in hot spots of China, right?
Cool, perfect.
So they've been working with, emerging artists, medium range artists, and really well-established artists. So a nice variety of artists.
Are they working with Ron English? Because I know Ron English got into the China scene too.
Yes, I've exhibited with Ron English, with Cause, and some other also emerging artists. So it's been a really great mixture of artists. It's really, really, really nice. And and they invest a lot in the artists. I mean, when I was invited there, it was unbelievable the way I was greeted. It's like 5-star greeting. Take you out. The assistants are there to take care of you. It was actually humbling. I was like,
you feel like a superstar.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting, to say the least. And I started producing a lot of work for them, prints, canvas work, and it's been doing very well ever since.
Cool.
So I mean, it's a great opportunity.
And you've been there a few times?
So in the pre-COVID, the last couple of years, I've probably been maybe 7 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you like it?
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Before my first trip, I was like, oh, I'm not sure, am I gonna like the food? And I enjoyed everything. They treated me with such kindness and took care of me. We did good business. And I love it. I can't wait to go back, actually. I miss it. Totally. It's another world, man. It's another world.
You must be allowed to go by now, no?
You know what? I think I can. It's just that there's a quarantine, and right now I'm really busy. Okay. So what I'm doing now with the groups, with the Chinese vendors, is that I'm shipping my work, or we do a lot of digital stuff. So before it was easier. I would just go there. Even if we printed everything in China, I would go there, sign everything, and then come back. But now it's just a little complicated with the 14-day. It just paralyzes me a little bit, right? And I don't know how much their business is still going on, but it's not exactly the same pre-COVID. So they're also slowing down in terms of spending. They're being a little bit more careful, which is normal, right? Because the economy on a worldwide scale took a little bit of a hit. So everybody's a little bit cautious. So to fly in artists like Ron English or myself or any other artist just to say, they're a little bit more reluctant,
Right, totally. So as somebody who's been working with Chinese people, who's been to China a few times now in the last few years, China sometimes gets a bad rep because it's a communist country, and some people say that they want to take over the world and turn us into... What's your point of view as somebody who's had a foot in both places?
Look, I don't want to speculate on the agenda of the China. I've met some amazing Chinese people there, and we're friends to this day. And they work, I must say, they work really hard. The youth works extremely, extremely hard, much respect. They're killing it 16 hours a day. They all want to become something. There's a lot of pressure, right? Culturally, there's a lot of pressure. They like fashion, they like nice things. Beijing is an expensive city to pay the rent, so they got to work extra hard, but they have really big goals and aspirations.
Sounds very capitalistic when I hear about it, though.
It's funny because externally, it's communist, right? It is a communist country, but internally, it really has a capitalist flow to an extreme level. I mean, when you go in there, you see young girls and guys, 20, 25 years old, 30 years old, and they're driving luxury cars, and they're really becoming, and it's not about the luxury car, but it's a reflection of the wealth and the growth of the economy and the hard work that's put in. It was kind of crazy. Here when you send something to a framer, takes a couple weeks. We had an exhibition 2 days away, and I had about 56 pieces to frame.
Wow. They
needed it for the next morning. They got 56 pieces done in 7 hours. And not just me, 7 other artists. Great. So it's when they get things done, they get it done. I know I mean, there's manpower involved. I know maybe salaries are not, I don't know, but they get stuff done. And it's pretty impressive. I was like mind blown, but I was like, you're not getting 56 prints by tomorrow at 8 a.m. and they're done.
Wow.
And
so respect, you know.
So
the
respect,
hard
you gotta
work.
respect. I mean,
So they're earning it, and they're not just gangsters pushing around.
no, man, they're earning. Yeah, exactly. And they're working hard. I mean, I see them like, they're like, my friends are like pretty pale in the face, my Chinese friends, and they're like, because they're working hard, man. They're like, they're giving it their go. And
Meaning they don't see much sun.
they don't see much sun, that's for sure, man. That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about your art. It's pop art.
Yeah.
And you got the drips.
Yeah.
I don't know what the drips means.
Yeah.
Does it have a meaning, or is it a cool aesthetic thing?
So look, whatever you see here in the background, this is all my latest work is all already in galleries. They're all shipped out. This is some old prints that I've done a while ago. Probably dates from 2013, 12, something like this. Even this painting is an oldie. I never showcased it, never brought it in a gallery. I started in 2010 with my first solo show. And what it was is that, so I go to Italy very, very often.
Okay.
I go 2, 3, 4 times a year. Now I haven't been gone because of the COVID. And
Which part of Italy?
I'm from Puglia. My family is from Puglia, my mother and my father. So I often go to Puglia for my summer vacations, or I go to Rome to see my friends. Rome is my favorite city in the world. I love it. The food is fantastic. It's an outdoor museum. It's just
Beautiful.
It refuels me every time I go. That's why I need to go often. I go there, even if it's a quick in and out of 7 days, I come back and I'm a new man.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I miss it so much. So I go to Italy every year. In 2010, I went to Italy. I went with my godfather and he introduced me to his uncle. And above his bed, he had a carving, a sculpture, like a sort of a 3D carving, a wooden carving of Mussolini. So I was like, kind of taken aback, I was like, dictator, it's kind of weird, like there's so much taboo. But the old man, he grew up in the war, during the war. And, God rest his soul, he passed now. But he was an admirer of Mussolini. And I'm not biased, I just want to hear history. I just want to hear why.
Yeah.
And he got into a little bit of the why, but the one thing that he told me was, in Italian, he said, quando parla è come il pane. So when he spoke, it was like bread, meaning that his words were like poetry. So I was a bit baffled, but I was like, oh, wow, because, I was like dictator, everything is like...
But he had charisma.
Yeah, but, and he, they say that he did a lot for women and the pensions and all that stuff. So he instilled some goodness via the bad stuff, right? Dictator is a dictator, right? Let's call it as it is. So anyways, it kind of stuck with me. So when I got home, I was dabbing with my art creation, my sort of getting in tune with my style and stuff like that. And that's where the dripping came from. So I was like, I took a little bit further, but on the dark side. So what I did is that I depicted all the dictator. I used to read a lot of history books. I love history, especially back then. I was like really a buff and really a little bit darker with my artwork. So I was reading about Ceausescu at the time, Pol Pot, Mussolini, and I was seeing the pros and the cons, I guess, of each, dictator, politician, whatever it was. And I kind of created a full series of artworks, paintings, canvas, based on these dictators. But using a cartoon aesthetic, so it makes it very friendly, very approachable, but cartoon dark with a sort of a 50s Walt Disney type of look, using a lot of snakes, a lot of furry snakes, a lot of big bad wolves to kind of represent the dictators. And the dripping was a metaphor for the milk, which milk was a metaphor for food, in which the dictators would take away from its people, and when satiated, throw in the leftovers, the bloodied up milk. So that's where the dripping came from. It was milk. All my work was milk driven. Everything. So it was like white liquidy milk.
So you're not a vegan.
So I'm not a vegan. No.
I thought maybe the drippiness almost looks like sweat. So in the case of dictators, they're like in hell sweating from all the flames.
No, see, a lot of people don't know the story, and it's fine because I leave it for interpretation, right? A lot of people came to that show, like even children, were like, "Oh, this is so nice," and I was like, "That's so cool," because I was even touching kids, but the subject matter was quite dark, right? There was a lot of hidden messages in that work, even though the characters were very cartoon-like.
Right.
So hence, I mean, that's the story, and you know, then I kind of just stuck to the.
You ran with it. It became your style.
It became, then the drips became a little bit of a political satire, and then it became just more fun. I made it lighter and lighter and lighter, and stayed away from too much politics. But there was always a little bit of political innuendo. But I did it for personal. I never did it like, if I did a drip in a subject, in a creation, you would probably look at it as a spectator and say, okay, that's cool, there's drips. But for me, there was another message.
It means something.
But I never felt the need to tell you what it is. Not even in the title. I just really did it for personal. And if you liked it aesthetically, if it's a Chanel logo or drips, and for you it's just a cool Chanel logo with drips, so be it. But for me, there was something else to it. But
well, I'm happy I understand it.
Yeah.
Because I see it and I was like, what does it mean? Is it just cool looking, or it actually means something to him? So I'm happy to know that it has meaning and purpose, and
a lot of meaning.
You're saying something with it, which I think is what art's about. I like to do drips sometimes. Like sometimes I'll do like watery like aspects of my beings. But I have trickiness with drips because I can make it look like a bunch of dicks so easy. I'm just like, oh, that looks like a dick and balls. All right, you gotta change it, Chris. If not, it looks like you're making a dick tree. And there's already so many dicks all over in my art that I don't want to look like I'm obsessed.
It could look like all kinds of things. It could look like jizz. It could look. It could look like anything, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why I just like. I love doing the drips. I've mastered my drips. I feel like I'm the guy in Montreal that does drips. I'm not the inventor of drips. I'm not the proprietary owner of drips, but it became my signature move, and people in the Montreal community really recognize me for the drips. You know,
totally.
So I'm happy. I'm happy that I stuck to it hard, and
so
that's it.
So you're saying you go to Italy once a year. That's awesome. What a beautiful country. I've never been to Rome. I've been to Florence and to this little village in middle of the south to take an oil painting retreat for 3 weeks, and it was beautiful. Drinking wine every day, and
Jeez,
great
the
food.
best?
The food, like everything in Italy, is like quality. You know, like the food, the clothes, the people are all beautiful. It's like almost like a kind of heaven in a way.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Look, I don't want to be biased because I am of Italian origin, but I just like, it does something to my soul when I go there. It just, like you said, the food, the wine. I mean, and the prices. I went to, just pre-COVID, I went to another southern city in Puglia called Bari. So I'm not from Bari, but it's not too far. I'm 2 hours away. And Bari is like a small city within the region of Puglia, and it has a port, it has a city, it has village feel, small city feeling, and you could eat like a champ for cheap. You could buy a bottle of wine in the restaurant while you're seated, a wine from Puglia, from the region, for €3. You're having a full bottle, you're having a plate of pasta for €8, and you're having entrees that are free, basically, appetizers that are all free, that you could... I love the culture. You know, you could have I love the aperitivo, l'apéro time. Yeah. €5, you have a spritz, and you have open buffet. I mean, it's everything is about food. You know, I love it.
It's that quality of life where you live to enjoy the pleasures of the senses.
Exactly. My girlfriend says all the time, I'm a bon vivant, and I think that's why I go to Italy. And my sister always tells me as well. She's like, "Why do you always go back to Italy?" It's just because it's like, it's embedded in me. It's my culture. So how could I not, right?
I was married to a Belgian woman, and I'd go once a year to visit her parents, and it was a very similar thing, you know? They live to enjoy like a good beer, a good meal, like everything has to be beautiful and stuff. So I definitely get that Euro vibe. So do you feel like the Italian heritage and your friends and your family, has that influenced your art, or maybe even helped you with your career in any way, having that culture?
It's definitely influenced my art. For sure, I've done throughout the last 10 years or so, I've done a lot of art that's related to my culture. I also live in Little Italy, which is a bit of a cliche, but I live in, and I made a lot of friends within the community. What I love about my community, Little Italy, is, for example, I'll go to a cafe and I won't know anybody, and then after 6 months, I have made like 30 friends. And these friends are still my friends till this day. So that's what I like a lot about the Italian community, how we really kind of like, we kind of align in that sense. And, you know, obviously the good coffee and but I've also created a lot of artwork that relates to the food culture, to my heritage, to my grandmother. I mean, my grandmother was a big inspiration for me. I would see her, honestly, every lunch. I would go to her house from elementary to high school, go to her place. She would make homemade pasta, meat, whatever it was, right? And that was a big thing for me. She was like a second mother, and we used to travel to Italy together. So it's deep engraved in me. And then when it comes to the artwork, you can see I've done artworks with cannolis and pasta, and did stuff with the SDC for Little Italy, the magazines, Panorama magazines, the SDC magazines. So I really, really enjoy doing things that are related to my culture, for sure. It's easy, it's fun, easy in the sense that because I know the subject so well, right?
So are your clientele, both the people who buy your paintings and say the stores or brands that you work with, are they all like through that Italian connection, or is it also through working in the animation, graphic design world previously?
You know, I would say almost like neither. My client base is not necessarily Italian. I do a lot for the Italian community, even if it's like pro bono, I'll just do it just because I love it. I think I get recognized just for, I think the brands, what happens, I think they feel like I relate. I can relate to them. Because I grew up in the retail industry, and I love brands. I just love it. I won't lie, I like to shop. I like to go to New York. I like to pick up some nice sneakers. I like to go like to certain stores that are a little bit more exclusive, and I'll spoil myself once in a while here and there. And I think I reflect that a little bit in my art, and I think the brands recognize that. So when I won't lie, I like Nike sneakers, okay?
I like Vans.
Yeah,
I think it's the same people who make them.
It is what it is. But then Nike, then I'll do an art piece based on a Nike shoe. But Nike will see that art piece. When they do research, when their marketing team does research, they see what artists are out there and they're doing, like, say, Nike stuff. And it just so happens they could stumble on my art piece and they'll be like, you know what, this guy gets it. Let's give him a buzz and see if we could like do a collab. And I think that's how, and word of mouth.
Have you worked with Nike?
Yeah, I worked with Nike, Adidas, many brands.
Sick.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. They're really fun brands to work with. I was very lucky. I had a lot of creative freedom, which is really nice. I mean, sometimes you don't think. You think when you do gigs with these corporate kind of brands, they really restrict you, and it's been nothing but pleasure. So, I mean, yeah, no, honestly.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's
you.
super cool,
Thanks,
man.
man.
That's
Thanks,
a blessed experience. Like, I got nothing against brands. You know, of course, I got a choice of brands as a skateboarder. I'll go for the skater brands.
For sure, man.
But it's just different flavors. At the end of the day, all these shoes, they're all made in the same place. People like to give Nike a hard time, like, Nike is a sweatshop brand. Yeah, every other brand too. It's just how the world's built, you know? Like, it's just kind of like...
Look...
Not that we prefer it, but at least if we're gonna use their medium to pass on a good vibe and medicine through it, that's the best we can do as artists.
That's what I do, man. The message is always positive, regardless. I know there's a lot of things that people disagree with and all that. I get it. You know, it's quite almost transparent. We all know. But my message, as your message is, it's very positive. It's happy. It's friendly. It's vibrant. And I think that's what's key. That's what's important.
So what would you say is the main message of your art? If you had to, and I hate to like make you tell what your art's about in one sentence or summarize it or condense it, but if you could, what would that be?
Man, it's really tough because I really go with the flow. I really go with like how I feel today. Like, but I'm a 90s kid. Like, we grew up in the 90s. We were teenagers in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
So I think I see it through your art, and I see with my art, I'm very much a reflection of the 90s. Like, I remember when the B.I.G. album dropped. I remember when the Wu-Tang album dropped. I went to buy it. The Nas album, you know, especially in the hip-hop days. And then intertwined to that, there was Metallica. There was Slipknot later on. There was all these things. They're kind of mixed up in a little knot. And you see that via my art. So I'm very nostalgic of the 90s. And because I worked in animation, I grew up studying those cartoons from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, right? And then you had the 80s cartoons, the G.I. Joes, the Transformers, all that stuff. and I love to mix it up. So it's how I feel, man. If I feel a little bit nostalgic and I feel like I need to bring back a transformer, I'll do it. I'll do it in my way. I'll try to tell a message, and that's it. Does it always have to be political, or always have to have a crazy message? No, I really do it because I want to just bring back this sort of like
I think it's about love.
naivety, childness, love, fun.
Well, you love these things.
I love these things.
So
I
you're
really love them.
expressing your love to
Yeah.
this culture that built you up.
Exactly. It's like a big representation. I am like, we lived the 90s. We ate bread the 90s, and I just want to like showcase that as much as I can, you know?
Beautiful.
Yeah, man.
All right, so let me ask you a little bit about the street art side of what you do. I know you do paint some murals, and at one point, I think you were going out there doing some wheat pasting illegally, but then you're also finding some resistance from the graffiti community of Montreal that maybe had some beef with you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that's?
Look, I started in 2010. There's been graffiti artists, God bless them all, man. They've been doing this for like long time, 20, 25 years. I've recognized their work for a long time. When I got into the scene, was I naive about the graffiti culture, the street art culture? Yeah, for sure, a little bit. You know, I was 30 I worked in the pipeline. At 30, I said, you know what, let me take a shot at doing art. And obviously, what happens is that was the era when the murals started exploding, the wheat paste posters, the street art, everything was kind of like entangled, right? And it was, let's call it what it is. There was a trend to it, right? It was attaching itself to fashion, this and that. I already liked fashion. I already liked design. I already liked designer furniture. I already liked all those things. And then it was starting to get, so I came out when the mural, street art, all that stuff was getting associated with the brands. So I was like in that sort of that gray zone.
You wanted to play that game too?
I was playing that game, but I didn't feel like I was violating, because I kind of just got jumped in and I was like, oh, mural, association with fashion, so I just kind of got in, and then I started to learn more about the cultures, about graffiti. And it wasn't a lack of respect. I never really knew it as much as I should have maybe. So I did dab with the murals. Started off slowly, which was a challenge, right? Painting with spray cans on large scale. Super fun, was exciting, and then kind of built it up more and more. I did dab with the wheat paste thing. Not so much my thing. I tried it. It was fun. The rushes, I did it in Europe. I did it in the States, which was really worrisome. I did a lot in the States. I was putting up the Screaming Hearts pretty much everywhere. It was really, really fun.
Nice.
A bit overwhelming. But I realized with time that I'm not a wheat paste guy. It's not how my work, I don't think it's the best way to showcase my work. And it just wasn't really me. It was experimentation, right?
Right.
I was experimenting during that period.
Yeah, that's good.
And then went back hard to the canvas. I think the canvas was the hardest medium, because it's really that piece you really want to like have in people's homes, but it's the hardest to get into people's homes, right? I mean, the mural you showcase for the world, which is beautiful. It's like a big billboard of your brand and what you can offer, right, to the community, and it's so like the reward is so like beautiful, right? When you see like people like look at it and admire it and even critique it, right? The good and the bad, you know. But the canvas is really where I wanted to focus and like do more and more fine art, and that was the bridge that was a little bit difficult. And in the last 2-3 years, I think I overcame that, and now I'm focusing a lot more on the canvas, and then once in a while doing a mural here and there without oversaturating. But I really enjoy doing large-scale murals. I did one, I think was last year, at the corner of Bishop and Maisonneuve.
Okay.
And you could check it out. It was really, really fun. It was a pretty large mural. I think it was about 200 feet wide by 40 feet tall. and challenging a lot of obstacles in the way. And
Right. So different.
and I had an artist help me out, MC Baldassari.
Oh yeah, great.
Amazing girl, super nice, great artist, and that was a really fun project. So once in a while, to do a mural here and there, it's really fun.
Yeah, but it's not like you're trying to like milk it or something. You just like you learn how to do it. It was a fun game. When the mural comes, you do it, but
Yeah.
it's not like you're focusing on it or anything.
No, exactly. Look, I mean, I love multi-platforms. I love pen and paper. Honestly, just picking up a pen and paper and doing a nice design by hand, scanning it, treating it. Just that process, I love it. I love to be in my studio and just like draw the old school way. But then after that, to have that drawing and be able to like magnify it on a 40-foot mural is so cool. But
Right.
it just comes to me. It's all natural, right? It's like somebody will call me and be like, "Hey Tava, you know what? We got this mural. I think you'd be the right match for it." And for sure, I'll do it. I love doing murals. I love doing everything, right? Design, murals, draw on sneakers,
Keep it interesting.
paint on a T-shirt, whatever it is. Keep it interesting, right?
And fuck
We
the
need variety
labels.
in life.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw you painted a mural. I saw in Rosemont. I used to live around there. You painted with Wizard Skull.
Yeah.
Where's he from?
So he's from New York,
Okay.
Brooklyn, I believe,
Okay, cool.
Brooklyn area. And he had hit me up and he's like, "Hey Tava, you know what? I'm gonna be in town. I got a day." And I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna find us 2 walls." So I knocked on a couple doors. So told the owners, "You know what? Do you mind if we paint on your wall?" And they're like, "Yeah, please." So Wizard's Call came down. We had maybe 5-6 hours to kick it, and we kicked 2 walls. We did like a half and half hybrid collaboration. We did a Pink Panther, Donald Duck half and half, and we did a Homer half and half, and that was super fun. Super nice guy,
Nice.
humble guy, and we just like it's fun to kick it like that, man.
Cool. What other artists have you painted with, or what artists do you admire or would wanna meet or kick it? Like who you like in the city, and like who's your homies and who you like?
Look, I love all Montreal artists. They don't know. A lot of Montreal artists don't know, but I'm a consumer of art. I like to buy art. I don't tell people. I don't show them off on my Instagram who I have, what's part of my collection. But there's a lot of art that I've seen throughout the last 20 years, and I have little pieces here and there, and I just keep them in my little repertoire.
Who you got?
I just keep it low key. One day I'll showcase them all.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I will.
But who are you a fan of?
Well, I mean, there's my buddy Sticky Peaches. I mean, he's a super nice guy. I like him. I have a few pieces of his. I have originals. I have prints, hand embellished prints. He's a guy that I respect. He works really, really hard.
Hannah Bellish?
Hand embellished prints, like
Hand embellished.
Hand embellished, sorry. Yeah.
I gotta interview him at some point, but I never met him in person.
Yeah,
So.
super nice guy. Props to him, and I like his work ethic as well. So I mean, it's keep it in the family.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So you're like a lifelong Montrealer.
Yeah, born and bred, man. I
Nice.
grew up in Le Sud-Ouest.
Okay.
Yeah, in Ville-Emard.
Okay.
So like Monk Metro area, if that rings a bell to anyone.
Monk Metro? No, that's not Monk.
Green Line.
Okay.
And Grignon area.
Okay.
Like Ville-Emard, La Salle, Verdun. I grew up there. Went to French high school.
Okay.
And yeah, man, I mean, I haven't been back to the hood in a long, long time. But moved out to Ville-Emard in my teens, and we moved downtown area.
Tell me what you love about Montreal.
Man.
Why you stay here as somebody who has a
Look.
foot in Italy, a foot in China, etc., but you're based in Montreal. What's so cool about Montreal?
You know what? I love Montreal. I really do. I want to fight for Montreal. I want Montreal to be better. It's I've always been a little bit political, but never very that vocal. I'm starting to be a little bit more vocal, but I'm still trying to be politically correct. I don't want to be extreme anything. I'm center person. I think I'm pretty center when it comes to like my ideologies and stuff like that. I think so. But I do think that Montreal, there's a lot of room for improvement on an economical level, social level, political level. And I think that we just don't have the right people right now that are in position to do this job. Especially now during COVID, I've just seen a decay that we're not helping out enough. Politicians are not helping out enough, and they're not doing the legwork. I think they're just, I understand it's a hard job to be a politician, but when people are in such a detriment situation, I think you could do a lot more. And you do travel a lot. I travel. We travel. We see other cities. I mean, we even see the city of Toronto, which is right next door. It's not far. It's 45-minute flight. It's 6-hour drive. It's a comparable. And
what's Toronto doing that say Montreal's not doing?
Toronto. Well, first of all, it doesn't have the political stigmas that we have. Okay, it doesn't separate people as much as we do in Montreal, as we do in Quebec as a whole. Okay, I don't want to get into that, but there's none of that. You're a bit more equal in Toronto. Let's just leave it at that. Economically, they're more the Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Let's talk about history. Anglo-Saxon Protestant mentality. So they are more business driven. It's part of the culture. It's part of the DNA. Quebec was under the church, and then so the political evolution is a little bit different. But what I find in Toronto, is that they pushed, I think, a little bit harder. And what you have to understand is that when you push a little bit harder economically for the brick and mortars, the retailers, the mom and pops, all that, what it does is that it helps out even artists, because it creates more opportunity for artists, and it gives them bigger cash incentives too to do super cool projects. There was a project many years ago, a dual project. They had it in Montreal and they had it in Toronto. So the same project, under the same umbrella, the same banner. The budget was so small in Montreal and so large in Toronto. And it's just a shame because...
Why is it? Who decides that budget? The city?
The city. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like we have such an amazing pool of talent in Montreal. Honestly, we're destroyers of talent. We're just like, it's insane. You see these artists. It doesn't matter if you're a graffiti artist, a muralist, you work with acrylic, whatever medium it is, designer, illustrator, there's just like a mecca of crazy talent here, emerging and well-established.
Montreal is rich with culture.
It's rich with culture. And I just find that there's not enough opportunity for them to create a proper living.
Yeah, I never get much jobs in my own city, unfortunately. I'm forced to always be out, which is sad because I love being here.
I know. But fortunately, you could create business for yourself and export your work. That's the beauty about being an artist, right? That's why it's important to plant seeds outdoors of your city, to grow outdoors, but also give back a lot to your community. Right. So it kind of saddens me a little bit that, that Toronto became sort of this mini New York when Montreal could have been the mini New York. But maybe I'm naive to say this, but maybe Montrealers just like it the way it is.
But maybe if Montreal would have gotten bigger, maybe financially, it would have made the prices of rent and homing go up, meaning that the artists can't even afford to live here anymore. We've gotten a little bit less gentrified in Montreal than in other places, making it that the artists actually stuck around, though it's changing too. So maybe that's a factor.
Rents are rising really quickly, and so even salaries are not. So there's still that fine line, right? And we pay a lot of taxes in Quebec. We contribute a lot, and the return is not always fruitful. So there's that. There's another thing that I have noticed in the last couple of years. The city is extremely dirty. I still see rocks that they put like 2 winters ago, and they're still not clean. So I just find just that alone is, among many other things.
The construction is like the big
construction. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, you see some main arteries that have been broken apart, put back together, broken apart, put back together numerous times. I mean, do you understand what you're doing to retailers, mom and pops, and flagship stores? You're destroying them. You're making the circulation horrible. Montrealers don't want to go to Carrefour Laval. We like Montreal. So make our city accessible. So we don't have to go to suburban malls where we could walk on our streets and shop in our local shops and make it accessible. So I think the urban planning is completely off. I've heard comparisons to Copenhagen and such, which I think it's an honorable comparable, but it's not a realistic comparable. That's in the heart of Europe. It has super banks. It has retail infrastructure like no other, it's 5 times smaller, or 6, I don't remember exactly the numbers. And it's a hub for Europeans. So you can't compare apples and oranges. Oh, and we cannot deny that we have, 6 to 8 months of winter, more or less, which is another reality, which is the truth. And you cannot deny that. So to compare, I understand the vision, and even the green vision aspect, I get it. But there's limits to everything because we have our own realities and we got to really work with our realities. So to give promises and create stuff that just detriment the city, I just think it sucks, man.
Right.
And I mean, I know I'm a little loose here. We could get a little into depth, but I just want the best for Montreal, and I'll fight for Montreal. If I need to be a little bit more vocal on a political standpoint, even if it's...
That's the way how we change the world.
Even if it's a little bit of fluff, right? Just a bit. Whatever.
We're allowed to communicate, uncensored too.
Well, it should be uncensored. It should be uncensored, And I think we should not be afraid anymore. I mean, I think I was always a little bit worried because, how does it... We still are. I mean, if I were to talk to like my PR agent, she would say, I recommend you don't do it. If I were to talk to my lawyer about something, I recommend you don't do it. This is the recommendations that we get, which I understand, right? It's not always good business. You might lose people that like you, might hate you, and you don't want to do that. It's not
good for business.
It's obviously not good for business. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you still got to be true to yourself and your heart that speaks a lot. Right. And I think to bottle all those things in, it's really more important to give back to society and just express it in a non-aggressive way, in a way that makes sense, logical, and how can you help.
Right. But I think that's the biggest problem in society these days is that we're not fully allowing ourselves to communicate our personal ideas without people getting mad at you. It's like, oh, you don't like masks? You're like, you're not contributing to my society. You want to kill my grandma. It's like, well, can we have a conversation here, So in this talk about voicing your opinion, I know you own a gym. It's a boxing gym?
Yeah, it's a boxing gym, Panda Boxing.
Do you box?
I box.
Okay, nice.
I box.
For fun, for exercise?
For exercise. I've been slacking a little bit, I must admit. My business associate, his name is Tony, and he's my partner, and he's the boxer. Okay. He's the coach. He's the head coach of the gym, and I'm more on the branding and marketing aspect of the gym.
So you guys rented a spot, you got your gym, and then COVID comes, and the government of Montreal is saying it's code red, no one can box anymore.
Yeah, so
What's your opinion?
So look, I'll give you the story, a little bit of the rundown. We were scheduled to open in March. Then wave 1 hit. Oh shit, what do we do? We're shell-shocked, right? We have all this investment. We made a place high-end, spectacular, ready to go. 2 years of blood, sweat, and tears into this project. Financial burden, emotional, workload. Like me and Tony, we were practically married to each other. It was a 12 to 14 hour meetings every day, from business plan to construction to operations, getting this done. Boom, can't open. Okay, let's take it as it is. It's a blessing. We didn't open yet. We have time to regroup and postpone. And our landlord, God willing, he was amazing, the best in town, said, guys, we got your back. We'll fix you up. Okay.
So give you a break for a couple months?
Give us a break. We got a break. We negotiated. Amazing people. So we're blessed for that. Okay? June 22nd comes. Legault announces we can open. All right. Excited. We have 5 days to open. Staff is on standby. We're kind of scrounging. Because, it's a brick and mortar. It's a retail space. You can't just... It's not magic, right? You got to order, we have a cafe as well, Café Ludo, which is based on my Fox character. Anyway, so when you walk into the gym, there's a cafe, reception, and the gym, which through a speakeasy.
What neighborhood is in it?
Old Montreal.
Okay.
So
expensive.
Yeah. Bills, man. There's bills to pay. Like, the government ain't giving us no money. Like, I say ain't, and my girlfriend's going to laugh at that, but this is our livelihood. This is our hard-earned money.
It's your passion too.
And it's my passion. But at the end of the day, now I understand why people might think about jumping off the bridge. You gotta have thick skin. First of all, to open a brick and mortar, which I had never had a brick and mortar project before. It was my first one, and hopefully not my last. But when things hit the fan, like the COVID, which is completely unexpected, your skin has to be thick. So anyways, so June 22nd, we open. We're excited. We had built so much momentum during the first closure because we did online virtual classes for free, just to build up momentum, clientele, community, friendship, and we were good at it, and it was fun. And then when it time to open, we already had people that were loyal. They said, you know what, we can't wait for you to open. We want to see this gym. They came in, major success. We had people help us in PR, influencers. They just came truckloads, bringing in their friends.
What's it called?
The gym? Panda Boxing.
Panda Boxing.
Panda. So the logo is a panda, manga style.
Cool.
Yeah. So definitely inspired by my trips to China, because a lot is manga inspired, Japanese and Chinese inspired. And the panda is a sort of a Chinese animal.
Everybody loves pandas.
And I'll put him on the spot, but Tony, his nickname was Panda when he was younger.
Okay, perfect.
Okay? Now he's a solid boxer, doesn't look like a panda anymore, but he's that
Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, that was his nickname. So definitely homage to Tony. So we opened the gym. We're doing super well. 3 months, kicking it, loving life, sacrificing a lot for the business, try to recuperate whatever we could during the lost times. Then boom, zone red hits, closed again. And now we're closed, and it's uncertain times, man. I wake up, I won't lie, there's anxiety, man. There's a lot of anxiety. The knots in your stomach, they're often there.
Because it's hard to keep a business and pay rent month after month where you can't even open.
Look, you have to understand that, why isn't your landlord cutting you some slack? You understand that landlords
Have to pay their mortgage.
That's their business. They're entrepreneurs that bought property, that their business is collecting revenue, right? Is collecting the rent. So it's a trickle-down effect. So people that don't go to my gym don't make me disposable income. I can't go buy a sweater. The other guy that can't buy a sweater can't go buy something at the grocery store. The other guy. So it's economics 101. And I find it a little bit unfair for government to handpick 2-3 industries and to say that you're closed without giving us any statistics to say, look, guys, 1,000 restaurants in Montreal, 997 got infected. These are just so many cases within the restaurants. We have to close you guys. We're sorry. Give us that. Give us that information. Where's the information provided? Yeah. Now everybody that owns businesses is becoming a self-taught journalist. We're doing all our legwork, our research, but you know what it's doing to us? It's such a detriment. It's creates a lot of anxiety. It's making us feel the word justice. You know the word justice is not. Where's the word? Where is justice? Where is justice in all this? So when you see the cliches of Costco's that are jam-packed, malls that are jam-packed, I don't say I want to close the malls and I want to close the Costco's, but to say that these are jam-packed without rules and regulations instilled within the institutions, but gyms, restaurants, and bars are closed when I know for a fact I have friends that own restaurants, cafes, bars, gyms, have done nothing but invest so much money to add plexiglass, to separate the facility, to restructure their benches, restructure their bathrooms, add a kitchen, remove a kitchen. These are 10s, 20, 30, 40, $60,000 of just added money that they never had to put. And then you tell them, well, let's shut down. I don't see justice in this. I just don't. It's not justifiable. And we need an explanation. I understand that COVID is real. I understand that people are scared. But add further protocol. You cannot jeopardize the livelihood of a restaurant owner by saying, you know what, you just closed. You just close without justifying it. And you have to understand that this restaurant owner maybe spent $700,000 to build his dream restaurant and has staff, which those are a lot of salaries. And also the social aspect of going out and having maybe dinner or going to the gym or whatever, staying fit, not allowing this social aspect. I think
it's very unhealthy for our vibes. We're people of vibration, we're social beings, and now it's killing everybody's vibes, and we're all depressed and unhappy. I guess we're alive still, but I'm not even really afraid of COVID. It's a 0.5 virus.
Let's live, man. Let's live, and let's not, if you were going to say, I need to close down everything without discrimination, one shot, close everything, do a serious lockdown, okay? Maybe we could have been for that. But to say, well, these are the perpetuators of COVID and this but now we realize it's the schools. Now, this is not management. This is bad management. At the core of it, it's really mismanagement. And it's so flagrant and it's so obvious. That's why it's important to speak up. That's why it's important to I don't think everybody should become a politician and a meme seeker and a Facebook poster. It's not that. But we really need to be aware that there's greater consequences. I think COVID will kill more people than COVID itself. I'm a believer of this more and more.
You mean the COVID measures?
COVID measured and the social aspect of the human being. Plus, we do live in Montreal in 6 months of winter. So that's hard. Sunset at 4 p.m., minus 30. Imagine at minus 30, you go to a cafe, your favorite cafe, you're going to go there. You're gonna have your coffee, but you kind of want to go to a cafe because you could sit inside.
See people.
You could see people. Even if you're people watching, now you're gonna go to a cafe, order a cafe to go back home at minus 30. So you're really hurting all the industries. And for the percentage, I understand people are scared. I get it. I get that it's real. I'm sure.
Do you think the statistics actually make sense? Like, why are we in code red? Like, I looked at the numbers and they were very low, and we're going into code red? I don't understand it, but I'm just an artist.
I know, me too, man. I don't want to speculate. I've done a lot of research on it. I have many friends that are doctors. I won't say which hospitals, but I have a lot of friends that work in the...
And what are they saying?
And they're just not down. They're just not down with it. They don't get it themselves.
Is it true that they get paid more to say that something is COVID as opposed to not COVID?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to speculate. I can't even speculate that the numbers are real or not real. All I'm saying is that the numbers are, whatever they are presenting, are not very high.
They're not even.
They actually also categorize the people that are affected by it. So if you're a 30-year-old young man or woman and you want to work and earn and feed your family and be middle class and survive, you need to work, man. So they need to come to this consensus where, because what is this going to be? Wave 1, wave 2, wave 46?
Like forever will we use masks and hide in our homes? Is that the future of humanity? I don't know. I'm not into it.
Well, that's the fear about government, is that when they instill something like a tax, when they instilled the tax and they said that we were going to remove it later, did they ever remove it? No, they didn't. It's too easy to instill a tax and not remove it because we're conditioned. We're very easy to condition. So I wouldn't be surprised that in 20 years from now, God willing, in my Panda boxing gym, I still have plexiglass up. Will the government one day say, party time, no more plexi? I don't know. You know what? I'm very uncertain about that. Mm-hmm. So this is where, it's like when September 9/11 happened, right? They restricted there was a major restrictions in many areas. And did they ever, no, you still can't travel with a water box.
They just built from there.
It just built from there.
Some people say that we're kind of like the frog in boiling water, that they just, put the hot water a little bit hotter and a little bit hotter, and at one point you're actually boiling and dying, but you don't really notice because they did it so gently.
Yeah, that's a good...
And that's why some of my friends are telling me, like, dude, you really actually got to fight back things that you don't agree with. It's like, oh, it's just a mask when I go to a grocery store. It's not a big deal. But if you don't see science that backs it up, or things are not making sense, how do we really fight back these things? Because they're making a lot of things illegal. Like, what, do I have to become a criminal in order to be counter-narrative, or if I call bullshit?
It's funny. I'm not a writer. I'm not a poet. I do art, and I do as much as I can for my community. But I wrote this thing the other day, and I'll tell you. What did I write? I wrote, let me think 2 seconds. I wrote that the intellectuals, in the near future, the intellectuals will become anarchists, the anarchists will become followers, and the simple-minded will become dictators.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like what's happening, right?
Yeah, and it worries the shit out of me. It really worries
Do you
me.
ever think of becoming a political figure yourself?
No.
No, it's not your vibe.
No, I don't think that would be. I think I could speak through my art. I think I was thinking of doing my art. So it's like a middle class person, right? Let's say you own a duplex in Ville-Emard. You pay $10,000 of taxes a year because you're an owner. So you're considered privileged, okay? But like, the thing is, these people, middle class, I give that as an example, as a middle class. I could be a middle class, you could be a middle class. These are hardworking people that need to pay their bills. So the problem is that the people that are really hard workers, that have families, that have kids, that have a car to pay, a mortgage to pay, taxes to pay, their vignettes to pay, they don't have time to protest. That's the paradox of it all.
All right, we're too busy.
Exactly. Well, we're too busy in a way surviving, right? We're scared of the unknown because I'm working extra hard now with earning less. Like Panda Boxing, for example, if it's earning less because we're closed, obvious, right? To be obvious. But I have to work 10 times harder to maintain it. But I don't have time to dedicate myself to politics and to like start preaching because if I don't make that survive, I won't survive because I will be finished.
So we're kind of stuck though, because we can see the BS, or at least certain aspects of BS, and we can talk about it. And this is one of the reasons why I started this podcast, not only to talk about art, but I want to feel the temperature of totally different people. I'm not putting zero ideas in your head. I'm just listening here.
Absolutely, man.
And there seems to be a general consensus that people are like, there's something really fishy happening here. We're not happy. But what do we do about it? Do we go to streets and protest or fight or like how can we be heard?
It's because right now everybody's starting to kind of sort of polarize, right? If you are anti-mask, you're associated with this type of political party. If you're pro-mask, you're this type of party. Everybody's sort of kind of like blue or red or this or that, and it's we shouldn't be labeled like that. All these labels are actually separating us more and more.
Right.
The labels of all sorts are separating humanity, and you see it. You see it via social media. Social media is so aggressive these days.
Right.
It's so aggressive. It's like it's daunting. When I go on Facebook, and obviously the algorithms show me whatever I should be seeing, or showing my stuff to whatever should be seen. It's so aggressive. It's so electoral. It's so political. And everybody has an aggressive voice. And it sucks because there's a lot of misinformation. There's not a lot of research and data backed up. And it's hard, man. It's hard to look at that.
We're sensitive. And somebody hurts you want to hurt them back. And then it becomes a fight instead of a union.
Ego. It's ego. The battles of the egos, right? So you'll write something, you'll say, I don't know. I didn't write that, but like somebody will write, fuck masks. Yeah. And then after that, the thread just starts. And then people start hating each other. And then politics get involved. And it's just like, and then money. And then it just becomes a shit show. And it's like, you're using all that energy senselessly. So it's like, if somebody dislikes you, you have to fight back with love, man. Love, peace, love, and justice, man. That's what it's about. Right. Be as conservative and rational as you can be, with data and research to back up your ideologies. Because to say, well, fuck him and fuck them and fuck you, well, it doesn't go anywhere.
No, because they are you too. They are your brothers. They are your city. Yeah, they are the people you also want them to be happy.
Exactly.
So that's a great message. And that's what I always try to go back to. You know, I get flack too. Like, I'll be all like, I don't believe in politics. I believe in the people. I believe in love. And still people will be like, yeah, but fuck Trump, you know? And if you don't hate him, you love him and you suck. It's like, well, I don't hate anybody, you know?
Look, man, look, democracy has never been so unstable. And that's all I could say, man. Everybody's very unstabilized right now on all ends of the stick.
Well, I hope things improve. I hope that we get politicians that, you know, can observe different aspects of our city and the country and the world.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we live here, man. We gotta live with it, and we want them to do good by us. That's important. That's why we gotta keep fighting for Montreal, keep fighting for our neighborhoods, keep fighting for our friends, and try to make the best of it. And we could talk over a coffee and shoot the shit, but it's also to like, if we could contribute as much as possible. I know we have little time, but whatever contribution we do, if it's via art and embellish it and give a message even via your art, if that's the least we could do, we do it, man. That's key.
We all got our different roles, and we contribute our vibration through that role.
Yeah.
And we don't feel guilty for the other things we don't have time to do. Hopefully there will be good politicians and lawyers, etc. out there.
Good politicians, yeah.
Yeah, does that exist? Or like, doctors, lawyers, people who can fight on that level where, things can change so that businesses, families, emotions are not destroyed, people suicide. Like that's just, I think there's way more suicides than actually COVID deaths.
The suicides are very high. I know for a fact. We presented, the gym associations presented a case to the National Assembly, and there's a lot of data that proves that the suicides are very high, starting with wave 1, and now with wave 2, a major increase compared to the other years, and it started as early as September, which is not the highest suicide rate. Starts later on. In January, February are very mortal. So they're not talking about this stuff, right?
That's important. It's super important because, like they're caring about human lives.
Yeah.
One thing is like you die and it's like, it's a bummer to die. But to die because you're so sad that you just can't take it, that's a really sad death on top of it.
It is, man. It's a sad death. It's a sad way to go. If people lose their shirts, the damage will be so severe. Not just suicides, but also just living, man, day to day. I mean, children are greatly affected. It's proven. I read some foundations. I won't do any name dropping, some foundations, but you can find the articles. There's foundations that work with children very closely, and they see how greatly affected they are. And imagine these children are 6, 7, 8, 9. So they are in such a early stage of their life, and they're already living with anxiety, and it's more and more. So I don't see how that could be. I mean, that could be so problematic to their growth, right. And that's why we got to start considering all these things. And I just feel like governments, maybe they have hidden agendas. I don't know what their agendas are exactly. It's really hard to tell nowadays, and I don't want to be conspirational into conspiracies and stuff like this. But it's unclear. Let's just put it like that. It's unclear.
It's unclear, and that's what makes it scary, and that's what makes it easy to go down what we consider conspiracy theories. Anyways, we could go down that tunnel.
We go down that tunnel, man, really deep. It just never ends. But I mean, as long as we stay rational and we kind of just keep our eyes open and research. It's always about research. It's not about memes. It's not about these weird articles about opinions. It's about really, where's the data? We just need data. If we have real numbers, what are doctors saying? What are scientists saying on both ends?
Right.
That's what matters. If 98% of doctors are saying, pediatricians or whatnot, they're saying, you know what, this doesn't make sense. Why aren't we listening to them? Right. This is the real research.
That's what's happening.
Not an old aunt talking on Facebook. It's not, sorry, the old aunt, but it's not that's going to give us the right information, right? Mm-hmm. It's not all opinions. It's data.
Right. Well, I hope that the voice of reason comes through, and we will stop acting so fucking crazy as we are in our societies, just acting like scared little children,
we got to do a positive vibe piece together. That's what we should do.
Yeah,
just totally. Positive, man. Just drippy, positive, fun.
If you ever get a wall, let's throw down a wall together.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We could get a little wall around here. Well, now it's getting cold. That's the problem with Montreal. It gets cold and it's hard to hold a can. But
I'm gone in 3 days anyway.
Oh, yeah, are you? Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to Peru.
Oh, amazing.
So I spend my winters in Peru.
Oh, smart.
/ summers there.
You're a very smart man.
Yeah.
You're a very smart man.
Well, winter sucks, and I need to connect with my culture the same way you go to Italy. Yeah. I need to connect with my parents who live there.
Oh, your parents are still there. Yeah, that's very important.
And they got land, so they got trees and avocados. If shit goes down, I'm hooked up there. But I also go to the jungle to my shaman, and I cleanse and I recalibrate spiritually, and I remember who I am and why am I doing this. so then I can be a better servant when I go back to the trenches of the cities and
Wow,
whatnot.
man. Good. That's very good.
Yeah, it's crucial. Well, thank you so much for the work that
Man,
you do.
Thank you for having me, man. Thank you so much.
Would you have some final words of wisdom to, you said a lot of great things in the show, but like, even maybe just on the artistic side or whatever?
I just want to tell the youth that are starting their art careers, not to get discouraged and to just really stay prolific in what they, and like, just improve on their craft as much as they can, be patient and just be prolific and showcase your work to the world as much as you can.
Shine your heart. Well, thank you so much, Tava.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, thank you for tuning in to this amazing conversation we had. It was very interesting to me. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you did enjoy it, please press like, comment, share, subscribe, all that boring stuff. Do it for us, push this show a little bit, and I'll see you next week. Blessings. So I just arrived to Peru. I was in Lima yesterday and I just got to the jungle, the city called Tarapoto in the province of San Martin. And I'll be hanging out for the next couple of weeks with one of my best friends, Herbert Quinteros.
The piece of bamboo, a hole and small holes inside, it means this is how I would like to be in my life. It's my philosophy to be this instrument.
Just an open channel for the wind to pass
An open
through.
channel where the great spirits can breathe through to me, where it can be used like an instrument.
You want to be the instrument of God.
I want to be an instrument of God and plants and also instruments of the Mother Earth, the nature. Purge with gratefulness. If I have to cry with sadness or feel some issues inside, I just have to cry. I just have to cry with gratefulness. Always grateful, always grateful, always grateful.
Right.
To be grateful is like to open this door, to surrender this process easier, to be grateful, no?
Right. So make sure to subscribe, like, and everything else. Big thanks and see you next week. Peace.